colleagues, companies, and partners, I stand before you today, grateful to speak. Is there a more fitting opening for my words that matches the beauty of this gathering? The great theater family solidified my belief in theater and art in general. They have contributed to broadening my intellectual understanding, aware of existence and human rights. This qualified me to defend our Arab human identity, our historical narrative, and our humanity that unites us and treats all equally, avoiding racism and narcissism, and in enabling me to shape my personal choices that made me more aware of the essence of existence and the just cause of national and human rights. This has qualified me to be more committed to fulfilling my duty in defending our Arab human identity, our deep-rooted historical narrative, and our essential humanity that unites us, our humanity that treats all people equally and helps them avoid falling into the traps of racism, isolation, narcissism, and self-inflation. I am grateful for the achievements of gratitude to my long and complex exile, which has contributed to expanding the scope of the great creative theater family, our deep-rooted historical civilizational narrative, and our essential universal humanity, that is, our humanity that treats people equally and prevents them from falling into the trap of racism, isolation, narcissism, and self-aggrandizement. I am grateful for the accomplishment of gratitude to my long and complex short exiles that contributed to expanding the scope of the great family of theatrical creativity. It has opened up broader cultural horizons and creative perspectives for me, allowing me more space for learning, discovery, and experimentation. It has granted me new opportunities for knowledge and collaboration, enriching my understanding of distinguished theater artists from this great family. I am grateful to the directors, actors, and creative Arab theater artists I have encountered, learned from, or shared the journey with on the challenging and exciting creative paths. They carry the spirit of creativity and sail in the enchanting boat of art. These are the pioneers who fight for truth, justice, beauty, elevation, and nobility. I am grateful to the directors, actors, and Arab theater artists who have shared the journey with me on challenging creative paths. They embody creativity and sail in the art's enchanting boat, fighting for truth, justice, beauty, and nobility. These pioneers open new horizons of theatrical creativity, illuminating intricate paths and elevating our aesthetic taste and knowledge. They gave us confidence to continue, renewing our ideas and artistic tools. These esteemed masters, dedicated to innovation, elevate their art and defend their people's causes, embodying justice, truth, goodness, love, and beauty. They are the creators who open new horizons of theatrical creativity, illuminating its paths, elevating our aesthetic taste, craft, and knowledge. They have given us the confidence to continue, renewing our ideas. These are our esteemed masters, the creative individuals who have dedicated their efforts to elevate their art and defend their people's causes. They embody high human values, including justice, truth, goodness, and love. I am grateful to our Arab theater audience, whose presence continually warms our hearts. As we find joy in their presence, they share hope on our circumstances. These are our distinguished and creative teachers who have made every effort and have never ceased to innovate and create to advance their art and defend the issues of their peoples. And this is in opposition to the lofty human values at the core of which are justice, truth, goodness, love, and beauty. I am grateful to our Arab theater audience, whose presence, interaction, and appreciation for theater warm our hearts. They bring us joy as they share with us hope and reflection on our circumstances, protesting our setbacks. When our nation faces challenges in decline or humiliation, it is the Arab audience that appreciates theatrical creativity. They follow theatrical works in all aspects of theater. It is the Arab audience that appreciates theatrical creativity, perseveres in following theatrical works, and yearns to see the manifestations of the development of the theater and its advancement in terms of script writing, directing, and acting, and at all levels of vision, aesthetics, and technology. It is the audience that dares to dream, laugh, cry. This audience rejects ugliness, vulgarity, injustice, dark ideas, and lies. To this audience, I express my deepest gratitude, for they give theater its essence. They guide us in fostering human solidarity. It is the audience to whom I express my deepest gratitude, for they are the ones who give theater its vital essence, meaning and justification for existence in life, which is the ever-present universal theater. Moreover, they are the source, fostering solidarity and preparing them to engage in life based on brotherhood, justice, love, equality, cooperation, and diversity. Theater is our dream life, and it is our ongoing imaginative dream of how to build a more beautiful and splendid human world. It is also the spring guiding us to strengthen harmony and qualify people for a life based on brotherhood, justice, love, equal equality, mutual cooperation, and creative human diversity. Theater is our refuge where we express ourselves. It is our dream life and our dream to build a better human world, more humane. In this light, theater is our parallel life, pursuing to distill human essence, uniting humanity as free, noble beings. Theater unites us as free, noble beings, equal and civilized, without distinctions based on race, gender, color, language, religion, belief, opinion, national origin, social status, or political status. And what is theater in this light but our parallel life and our burning pursuit to distill the human essence from the depths of human existence, enabling us to unite the human community as free, noble human beings. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes to theater, which is our imagination, our creative space, our joy, and our genius madness. Normal, civilized, equal people who belong to their essential, universal humanity without the slightest barbaric, savage, or racist discrimination based on race, sex, color, language, religion, belief, opinion, national origin, social status, political or legal status, or any other reason, element, or factor, or another distinguishing condition. Yes, yes, and 1,000 yeses to theater, which is our imagination, our creative space, our joy, and our genius madness. Yes, yes to theater, our balcony, to the vast world where we ask, learn, live, read, and draw lessons, recognizing truths, exploring possibilities, envisioning the future. Is there any creative space to heal our souls and those of the suffering, deprived, and disappointed, other than the theater we belong to? A theater we expand creatively, broadening horizons as we champion freedom, dignity, and rights. As we recognize the truths of the existing reality, explore its possibilities, and envision the future we desire, is there any vital creative space for us to heal the wounds of our souls and the souls of the suffering, deprived, and disappointed individuals, other than the theater to which we belong? And we expand its horizons and realms with our creativity as we champion our freedom, dignity, and rights, as well as the freedom, dignity, and rights of our people. This victory, in its deep essence, is nothing but a victory for everything that is beautiful, noble, authentic, and just. That is, a victory for humanity in the face of human savagery, in all its apparent manifestations and its hidden implications that are about to be exposed. Is there any creative space to bring forth all this creative action that plants seeds of hope in the national and collective human consciousness of the peoples targeted by the Zionist American genocide, and for all the tortured souls on this earth, except for theater? Theater teaches us to listen. Theater teaches us interaction, respect for differences. A theater must embrace diversity to be true. A theater must champion human values to be true. To continue our creativity, we must engage with audiences to achieve goals and avoid isolation. A theater supporting human issues, making life possible, balanced, sustainable, prosperous, joyful, and meaningful is not a true theater. To continue our theatrical creativity based on communication with audiences to achieve common goals and avoid isolation, we must stand for truth and justice in our texts Despite dominant falsehood and oppression, we must open our minds, texts, performances, and techniques to renewal and innovation with effort and dedication. Dear colleagues, if we want to continue our theatrical creativity based on continuous communication with our audiences in a way that leads to achieving our common goals and prevents our isolation from our audiences, we must have the courage to champion truth and justice in our texts, no matter how dominant falsehood may be and how oppressive injustice may become. We need to open our minds, our texts, our performances, and our theatrical techniques to constant renewal and relentless innovation with persistent effort and unwavering dedication. This is because the life, elevation, prosperity, and growing effectiveness of theater, as well as its increasing impact on human societies and people, depend on modernization, renewal, and innovation, not on imitation, repetition, or regurgitation. None of the components of the foundational creative triad should lead us to reckless boldness for the killing of our mentors who inspired us with their knowledge and vision. We inherit the theater and its essence from these pioneering creators. They are the founders and their descendants who worked tirelessly to establish and enhance theater, and we take from them the entire theater along with its various essential institutions and existing and potential components. Those are the creators who illuminated the feelings of theater with their creative contributions. They are the ones who worked hard to establish theater and enhance its presence, to elevate awareness, spread beauty, and promote values. The audience is our target. They are the cornerstone of meaning and joy. We must reach them, especially if they do not come to the theater. As a vital creative space, humanity cannot undoubtedly abandon it or absolutely pause for a moment in recognizing its essential need for its existence. To elevate awareness and promote values, the audience is our target. We must reach them. Let's meet them in cities, towns, villages, and camps. Enhance our connection, providing performances. Theater should not be limited to capitals and festivals. Engage the audience by expressing their lives, struggles, and aspirations. So let us go to meet them in the outskirts of cultural centers, cities, towns, villages, and camps. Let us work on enhancing our connection with them and maintaining a vibrant, ongoing dialogue, providing them with as many theatrical performances as possible. Otherwise, theater will be confined to the capitals and seasonal festivals. There is no way for theater to continue fulfilling its mission, which is our mission as theater artists, without retaining the audience by committing to express their life conditions, struggles, and aspirations honestly, and by striving to elevate their aesthetic awareness and artistic taste, and to expand its base, deepen it, and ensure their creative, interactive participation. We must continuously reach out to the people without any interruption by organizing field tours for theatrical performances, accompanied by discussion circles and dialogues with the audience after each show. We should make our performances in cities, especially in equipped theaters, a significant artistic and cultural event that crowns our field tours and efforts to engage with the people, championing theater as a cultural phenomenon with a noble human message. And to expand its base, deepen it, and ensure its creative, interactive participation, we must continuously reach out to the people, without any interruption, by organizing field tours for theatrical performances, accompanied by discussion circles and dialogues with the audience after each show. And we make our performances in cities, especially in equipped theaters, a significant artistic and cultural event that crowns our field tours and efforts to engage with the people, championing theater as a cultural phenomenon with a noble human message. Over the past 50 years, science and invention have evolved. The knowledge explosion has intensified, and the scope of the communications and digital revolution has expanded. Modernity and post-modernity have swept through our world, dominating our lives and the minds of youth, teenagers, and children. leaving us gasping to keep up with the amazing and enjoyable technological innovations that have begun to manifest the near absolute dominance of their creators over the virtual space. They have begun to manifest the dominance of their creators over virtual space, paralleling their control over the real world, reinforcing it. Regardless of the nature of these technological developments and their impacts, they have facilitated youth communication in our discussion about theater. They have enabled quick access to knowledge and provided opportunities for self-expression through computers and mobile phones, facilitating information exchange. Technological developments, regardless of their nature and impacts, have facilitated communication among young people in our discussion about theater. They enable quick access to knowledge and provide opportunities for self-expression through computers and mobile phones, allowing wide dissemination and exchange of information and ideas. Modern technological changes have influenced theater, which has existed for over 25 centuries. Contemporary theater must adapt to the new conditions created by these rapid technological advancements. Unlimited and unrestricted opportunities for individuals to express themselves and their ideas through computers and mobile phones as new technological means that facilitate wide dissemination and rapid exchange of information, ideas, concepts, opinions, and visions. Thus, the modern technological developments and transformations have swept through the theater that humanity has created for over 25 centuries. The contemporary and modern theater had no choice but to adapt to the new conditions created by these rapidly advancing technological developments in a remarkable way. Otherwise, they should benefit from the inventions and innovations that have emerged and make use of many technical mediums and tools in their techniques and methods of work, such as replacing sets with lighting and defining the entrances and exits of the performers without the presence of backstage, using maps, images, audio, and visual recordings, and other dozens of aesthetic and functional uses. This necessitates keeping up with technological innovations, diligently and boldly experimenting with them in theater, based on a decisive abandonment of the idea of overlooking, neglecting, or denying their existence. Dear colleagues, conclusions from theater and existential experiences. Born in a Palestinian refugee camp, I studied in UNRWA schools. I watched my first play at 70. As we moved between refugee camps, inside and outside Palestine. With each move, I carried my books and scripts, starting anew, hoping to return to Palestine, the land of freedom and dignity. I was fortunate to watch my first play at 70 as we moved from one refugee camp to another, both outside and within the occupied Palestinian homeland. With each necessary move, I carried my books and scripts, hoping to return to Palestine, the land of freedom and independence. After the Oslo Accords, I returned to what felt like the largest prison in history. My journey continued through pain, as it had in the camps and diaspora, and I found no savior. I found myself taking my books and scripts everywhere, repeatedly starting over, hoping to return to Palestine, the land of freedom, dignity, and independence. Upon returning after the Oslo Accords, I found myself in the largest, most notorious prison in history. I continued my painful journey, as in the camps and diaspora. Theater was my only savior from alienation, loneliness, and oppression. I carried the portable stage, moving it among hundreds of sites in towns, villages, and camps. And when I returned to my homeland after signing Oslo Accords, I returned to the largest, most notorious prison known in history. I continued my journey through long paths of pain, just as in forced refugee camps and diaspora. I found no savior. Theater was my only savior from alienation, loneliness, oppression. I carried the portable stage on my back, moving it from one location to another among hundreds of sites in towns, villages, camps. I found myself connecting with those who suffer misery of life, bitterness of oppression, humiliation of racial discrimination, and brutality of occupying armies' tyranny. Through this open experience, I realized the extent of injustice faced by fellow theater artists, both men and women, in profound and broadest meanings of theater, within forced and oppressive enclaves imposed upon them. I found myself deeply engaging with those suffering life's misery, oppression's bitterness, racial discrimination's humiliation, and the occupying army's tyranny. Through this experience, I realized the injustice faced by theater artists, both men and women, in the broadest meanings of theater, within forced oppressive enclaves. I witnessed them fighting for a theater embodying their Palestinian narrative, their human, civilizational, and historical story, and their visions for a humane, hopeful future for Palestine. Through this experience, I realized the injustice faced by theater artists, both men and women, in the broadest meanings of theater, within forced oppressive enclaves. I witnessed them fighting for a theater embodying their Palestinian narrative, their human, civilizational, and historical story, and their visions for a humane, hopeful future for Palestine. I lived with them as they fought with their bare chests for a theater that embodies their Palestinian narrative, their human, civilizational, and historical story, and their open visions for a future that is humane and hopeful for Palestine. This Palestinian future must be open, and they should possess and practice, at the very least, the rights to life, freedom of movement, expression, and access to knowledge, with theater knowledge being at its core. The Palestinian humanitarian is open. They should possess and practice the rights to life, freedom of movement, expression, and access to knowledge, with theater knowledge at its core. They should also have the rights to learn, exchange experiences, and access conferences, festivals, seminars, and workshops without barriers hindering participation. Our existential question as Palestinian theater artists, whether in the occupied homeland, refugee camps, or diaspora, mirrors that of our people. When will the colonial and occupying injustice be lifted from our land and our generations, enduring for over 76 years? When will the imperialist, colonial, and Zionist nightmare gripping Palestine and its people end? Our existential question as Palestinian theater artists, whether in the homeland, refugee camps, or diaspora, mirrors that of our people. When will the colonial and occupying injustice be lifted from our land and generations, enduring for over 76 years? When will the imperialist, colonial, and Zionist nightmare gripping Palestine and humanity end? The brutal colonial monstrosity is evident in broadcasts and captures by news channels, agencies, and eyewitnesses. When will the heavy colonial and occupying injustice be lifted? When will this oppressive nightmare, which brutally grips the spirit of Palestine and its people, come to an end? And there is no clearer evidence of this brutal, colonial, and savage human monstrosity than what media captures of the cultural destruction and genocide by the American-backed State of Israel. There is no more evidence of the brutal colonial monstrosity than what news channels, agencies, and TV screens broadcast, along with what journalists' cameras and eyewitnesses' mobile phones capture in scenes of the total cultural destruction and genocide committed by the armed US-backed entity known as the State of Israel against the Palestinian and Lebanese people who are facing genocide and displacement while their lands are subjected to theft. The crimes of total cultural destruction and genocide committed by the functional colonial entity armed with American weapons called the State of Israel. For more than a year and 3 months, the Palestinian and Lebanese peoples have been targeted with genocide and forced displacement, while their homelands have been targeted with theft, confiscation, occupation, and claims of ownership based on the biblical Talmudic promise of the Lord of hosts. Can any human being who has patiently and diligently strived to be a true human turn a blind eye to what they have seen and continue to see with their own eyes over the minutes and seconds that have formed a complete year and 3 months through live broadcasts, from the massacres and atrocities committed without any restraint against Palestinian and Lebanese civilians, the many innocent lives that have been taken by Israel, and the thousands whose bodies were buried alive or whose remains lie under the rubble of their homes that were destroyed above their heads. Palestinian civilians, including all ages and genders, were burned alive in their homes, in their refugee shelters, and in their displacement tents. They were killed by soldiers driven by racist ideologies and evil impulses, depriving them of water, food, and medicine. And should I remind you of the Palestinian civilians, including women, children, the elderly, and the disabled, who were burned alive in their homes, in their refugee shelters, and in their displacement tents? They were killed slowly and sadistically by the hands of the soldiers of the Zionist God, who carried out his devilish orders, driven by their racist ideologies, evil impulses, and their disgusting primal desires to starve, humiliate, and expose them to the harshest diseases by completely depriving them of water, food, and medicine. With their racist ideological foundations, their evil impulses, and their disgusting primal desires to starve, humiliate, and expose people to the harshest diseases by completely depriving them of water, food, and medicine. And may I elaborate to remind you of what I know you will never forget: the cultural destruction that has affected hundreds of thousands of homes, thousands of Islamic and Christian places of worship, and dozens of hospitals and schools, dozens of universities, educational and training institutions, cultural centers, clubs, stadiums, and sports centers, where all these buildings were destroyed over the heads of their residents, workers, and those seeking refuge there. You should now name without hesitation everyone who armed, funded, supported, and endorsed Israel's crimes, including war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. Also, name those who remained silent, including states and political entities, and directly name the imperial criminal entity that provided weapons, money, media coverage, and immunity to Israel, responsible for this destruction and unprecedented brutality. Name those silent on these crimes. Identify the entity supplying resources and immunity to Israel. I hear what you hear, with humanists valuing justice, equality, and peace. As you name the imperial entity that provided the weapons, money to the state of Israel, responsible for this destruction and death. Questions that scrutinize what stirs in our collective consciousness, guiding us toward the emerging world. I'm listening to what you hear. Has Palestine regained its prominence among global issues, supported by 95% of the population? These are questions that scrutinize what stirs in our collective consciousness, our concerns, thoughts, preoccupations, and longings, as well as the challenges, expectations, and forms of responses that need to be examined deeply and clearly as they guide us toward the essence and identity of the world that is about to emerge in the coming days. Has the issue of Palestine returned to occupy its place at the forefront of the issues that concern the world, supported by about 95% of its inhabitants, and 90 in the water of the inhabitants, or is it of the inhabitants, or is it in the moment of the final slaughter, that leads to its liquidation and the end of its existence in favor of the dominance of Zionist American savagery over the world's resources and destinies? Have generations realized the falsehood of history and its deceit? Have they understood the true nature of the forces that govern the world and the methods they use to maintain control? Are international organizations still capable of fulfilling their responsibilities after their failure and inability to meet their obligations have become evident? Have generations realized the falsity, deceit, and deception of history? Have they clearly recognized the truth about the powers that rule the world and the means and methods they use to tighten their grip on it? Are international organizations and bodies still able to assume their responsibilities, continue to perform their functions, and fulfill their basic duties after their failure has been proven and their inability to fulfill what they were established to fulfill has become clear? Can the world continue to accept the ongoing Israeli occupation of Palestinian land and the continued existence of Palestinians under the weight of this fascist, racist occupation, as if they are bound prisoners and besieged exiles in their own stolen homeland? How much time and how many generations will it take for Palestinians to heal from their fear, from hatred, resentment, and the overwhelming desire for revenge and retribution, as well as from despair, hopelessness, trauma, and mental health issues? What are the conditions and requirements that need to be met to empower them in their current reality? Recovery, through the final elimination of the Zionist occupation, which is the cruelty of all this affliction. Is it possible to reform the world in light of the clear fact that those who dominate it, control its affairs, tyrannize its people, and control the crisis of its future? They are worth 1 million. They are worth 1 million. They are worth 1 million. They are corrupt, mad, criminal, and racist. We as creators cannot retreat from our goal to repair the world and better ourselves. We cannot betray our hard-won humanity. We will refuse to submit to injustice and oppressors. This is because we embrace freedom and believe in dignity. Our creativity empowers people to nurture their humanity until it flourishes. We cannot betray our humanity, understood through a noble emotional struggle. We refuse to submit to injustice and oppressors, embracing freedom and dignity. Through creativity, we empower humans to nurture their inner humanity until it flourishes. We reject injustice, colonialism, and tyranny, standing against human savagery, including greed, exploitation, discrimination, and wars. We embrace human freedom and dignity. Through creativity and effort, we empower individuals to nurture their humanity until it flourishes. This helps us reject injustice, colonialism, and tyranny, opposing human savagery like greed, capitalist exploitation, racial discrimination, and colonial wars. We passionately pursue uniting humanity and strengthening cooperation against savagery, particularly Zionist American aggression, defending values, principles, rights, and fundamental freedoms. He must reject injustice, colonialism, and tyranny, and oppose greed, capitalist exploitation, racial discrimination, and colonial wars. To unite humanity, strengthen cooperation, and defend fundamental human freedoms like freedom, dignity, justice, and the right to self-determination. This enables him to continue his passionate pursuit of uniting humanity and strengthening the bonds and cooperation of all its forces in the face of Zionist American savagery, and to firmly defend the values, principles, rights, and fundamental human freedoms, foremost among them freedom, dignity, truth, justice, equality, and the right of every people to life, existence, and self-determination in their homeland and on their free and sovereign land. In this light, no human being will have any choice that expresses their humanity other than the commitment to support Palestine as it strives to liberate its homeland from the Zionist occupation. The Palestinian cause is a political, national, and universal humanitarian issue. It is tied to the struggles of the world's peoples. The persistence of the Palestinian cause lies in the deep bonds with their land and history. It is also rooted in their belief in their rights. However, the secret to the persistence of the Palestinian cause, the Zionist movement, and Western colonialism myths lies in the deep bonds that connect the Palestinian people to their land, homeland, history, and civilization. Their belief in their cause and their national and human rights, as well as their readiness to resist the occupation through comprehensive popular resistance until they can liberate their homeland from the Zionist occupation and establish their independent, democratic, civil Palestinian state with full sovereignty over all their national territory. To resist the occupation, there must be a comprehensive popular resistance so that the people can liberate their homeland from the Zionist occupation and establish their independent, democratic, civil Palestinian state with full sovereignty over all their national territory